There's a moment in Gordon Ramsay's hotel hell that makes me squirm. Gordon, having just barely sat down in the hotel's restaurant, is served bread. The waiter politely asks,
"What do you think?"
And this is Gordon's response.
Yeah, disgusting.
And watching this, I find myself in a loop.
"What do you think?"
Yeah, disgusting.
Why does he say that? I can't be the only one who thinks that's uncalled for.
"What do you think?"
Yeah, disgusting.
Come on, Gordon. That is completely needless.
It's just so heavy and doughy.
It's bread.
"What do you think?"
Yeah, disgusting. Disgusting.
Save your bullets for the main course. Oh, what is he doing now? He feeds it to the dog, and yeah, he's pretending the dog is dead.
Later. Oh shit, I thought you'd gone. Stay with me, girl.
"What do you think?"
Yeah, disgusting.
Come on, Gordon, what's really wrong with the bread? Let's be honest, we're all adults here, and we all know that Gordon is playing a character. He is a man in a costume. And just like a 22-year-old French student dressed as Kylo Ren in Disneyland Paris, we don't just accept it, we expect it. More than that, we want him to embody the role.
Smell that!
To deliver exactly what we came for. And this is a hallmark of the Disneyland experience. They are not staff, they are cast. They are not working, they are acting. We are all, for the most part, comfortable with. In fact, we almost crave this state of being immersed in fantasy but aware of reality. It's a figurative contract we sign with Disney before entering the park. Let's just pretend, wink, wink, a 7-year-old knows Santa isn't real, but they will sit on his lap, enjoy the presents, and even for a brief moment allow themselves to indulge in the idea that the Red Devil is real. But they are 7, remember that. They've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Don't you think depicting the false paradise nature of Disneyland is relatively commonplace, both in fiction and non-fiction? Disneyland, one may fantasize, with its perfect, magical exterior, conceals beneath it a menacing underworld, where corporate greed or even literal monsters preside. This is a fine way to discuss Disneyland, and I have no issue with it, apart from the fact that it's a bit boring, right? It just seems dull to focus on those ideas when the actual interplay between fiction and reality within the parks is a lot more fascinating. At the core of the park, its main attractions, the line between fantasy and reality is at its clearest. The staff who organize the lines, operate and maintain the rides, wear costumes themed specifically to each attraction. This creates a simple and understandable line. These are people who inhabit this fantasy world. These are just dudes or chicks dressed like a Star Wars guy or alien thing. True immersion is an ephemeral thing. It's a fleeting and brief moment of forgetfulness that we don't arrive at when we want to and only really appears when we aren't paying any attention. And even then, I'd describe it as a 1 foot in, 1 foot out experience. One foot stays grounded, controlling the rational mind, while the other foot dabbles in the fantastical for a short time. And I say more power to that. Clean, safe fun is a wonderful thing. Otherwise, people will be trying to kill Kylo Ren because they'll think, well, he's a danger to us all. And why wouldn't they think that? He is a monster. And he's seen things you people wouldn't believe. Where the distinction between reality and fantasy becomes less clear is with the staff performing the more mundane and common tasks. In the hotels, those who clean the rooms wear costumes that are both appropriate and yet slightly absurd. After all, when a maid is dressed in a maid costume, it starts to raise all sorts of questions. This lady is not a pirate. She's a ride operator dressed as a pirate. But this guy is dressed as a janitor, when in reality, he's just a janitor. How can someone inhabit a character, a fiction, when that character aligns perfectly with what they are doing? One might be tempted to compare this to the idea of a celebrity playing themselves in a film. Sure, it's them by name and look, but they're portraying a heightened, exaggerated version of themselves. But where is the heightenedness or the exaggeration when a housekeeper is simply dressed as a housekeeper? I suppose this is what a housekeeper may look like in a cartoon, which I guess is where Disney's aesthetic roots lie. But the day-to-day activities of this person and their mirror counterpart, their fantasy counterpart, are essentially identical. It's just the costume that they wear that differs. Everybody knows Billy Bob's country western saloon joint in Disney Village in Disneyland Paris, right? It's a remarkably fine, all-you-can-eat barbecue joint. As most all-you-can-eat places do, it lays out the cheaper, higher carbohydrate foods that fill you up faster within easy reach. The meat counter does offer a modest selection of cooked meats, but it also features a couple of chefs behind it. Their role is not only to serve you by carving roasts for you, but also to serve you something from the dishes in front, or maybe just offer a friendly smile as you help yourself. They may also play a secondary role in subtly discouraging overindulgence, perhaps by presenting a slight social barrier between the customer and the food. It's been suggested that McDonald's installing touchscreens in their stores led to a roughly 6% increase in sales. It's possible that customers may feel less self-conscious about the amount of food they order when they don't need to interact with a server. One may surmise that Billy Bob's country western saloon joint uses the same social barrier to curb overconsumption of high-cost meats. One may surmise that. I wouldn't, but one may. After a day of interaction with fantasy or near-fantasy characters around the park, one might not be wrong in looking at that chef and asking oneself, is that a chef or is that a food server in a chef's costume? If a lady is dressed as a pirate, who, to be clear, is not a pirate, I'm all good with it. In fact, for the sake of my enjoyment, I would encourage it. But if this is a costume, and this person is no different from Mickey Mouse, or this guy, then they are playing a role, and we are the audience. What if you were to head to any of the first aid centers dotted throughout the parks, and instead of a doctor, you just got a man dressed as a doctor? With his goofy smile. You might say to me, there are plenty of places that do this. Why single out Disney?
Did you catch a game last night?
To which I might say, well, you're right. I've seen this many times in many pubs. There's even a chain of restaurants in the UK that solely serve their food this way. But, and you might think me naive for this, I'm relatively confident in saying that these people did cook, at least in part, some of the meal that they're serving. And next you say to me, and we're in real conversation now, you don't know that this person isn't a chef, that maybe they did cook, at least in part, the food that they're serving. And to that I say, touché, fair enough. They very well might be. But I can sow the seeds of doubt, and honestly, whether they are or they are not a chef doesn't change the point I'm trying to illustrate. In this world, in this park, shaped by the Walt Disney Corporation, fantasy is a tool for immersion, for good, healthy, happy, joy-bringing immersion. And if necessary, it could be used as a tool for deception. Because if this person isn't a chef, which again, I'm not claiming they are or they are not, then I'd suggest most people don't realize that they are an audience. It breaks that figurative contract that we sign entering the park. It deprives us of the wink-wink at the end of Let's Just Pretend. We still might be on the boat in Pirates of the Caribbean, but now the boat is a restaurant and the pirates are dressed like chefs. And you pause. You, the straw man that you are, briefly rethinking your time spent at Disneyland. Rethinking every interaction you had with someone there. That lady behind the desk at the hotel was nice, right? But was she actually a front desk clerk? I mean, most of that stuff is done by the computer these days anyway. Come to think of it, I noticed her keyboard wasn't even connected. And what about that jolly bus driver? What was his name? Toothpick Henry? The way I know it, the driver turns the steering wheel, but now I'm thinking, with him, it might have been the steering wheel turning the driver. Maybe I wasn't even on the bus at all, but actually a 3D motion simulator like that Star Wars ride. And yeah, that chef behind the counter, was she really cooking the food? Does that matter? Does that make her anything less than what a chef is? When you think about it, what does it really mean to be a chef? Listen, we all know Gordon Ramsay, the chef turned TV personality, the pop culture icon whose presence can sometimes feel overwhelming. He's often hailed as one of the best chefs in the world and someone whose opinion on food carries weight and should be respected. Now, right here, you might be expecting me to be the contrarian, to downplay his achievements, argue that he's not, in fact, the best chef in the world, or perhaps point to those who have earned more Michelin stars than him, or point to those who have run more successful restaurants than him, and highlight the lives they've lived, not coveting the spotlight as much as he does. But honestly, I don't want to do that because I think Gordon is an exceptional chef and an extraordinary human being. His widespread visibility isn't a byproduct of media saturation, it's a testament to the extraordinary way he's mastered both the culinary world and the world of television. Extraordinary people do extraordinary things, and often they excel in more than one field. Gordon, and perhaps the team that surrounds him, has mastered the art of adaptation, adjusting to the times and doing what they can to stay relevant. And to much, it must be said, success, while many of his peers have faded quietly into legend.
He remains the only human being, as far as I'm aware, who's ever made Gordon Ramsay cry.
No, I didn't make Gordon Ramsay cry. He made himself cry. That was his choice to cry.
Gordon is a machined automaton whose every gear has been greased and oiled to find fault in restaurants.
That is disgusting. Yeah, not very pleasant. Pasta's mud. It tastes like rubber. What a shame. Bland as...
Holy crap.
That sauce is dreadful.
Disgusting overcooked rice.
Soggy pile of dough.
Just hideous.
It's like eating the inside of a golf ball. Disgusting.
Oh, that's disgusting.
The sauce is dreadful.
It's
It's like soaking wet newspaper.
an embarrassment.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm shocked. That is hideous.
Hideous.
Disgusting.
Tasteless mush, underseasoned.
Nasty.
Dry,
Horrendous.
cold chicken.
Absolutely gross.
That is f***ing disgusting.
And his sights are usually honed in on the food,
That's just gross. Greasy mess.
Bland.
with occasional wandering down the side streets of decor,
This ghastly decor. Your blouse matches the wallpaper. I feel like I'm tripping out.
menu clarity,
I've never heard such a complex menu in my entire life.
or kitchen cleanliness.
This place is littered with
But these are in reality just little side missions in his simple game. In early seasons, Gordon would just show up on a pre-arranged day, eat the food, insult the chef,
Can't call yourself a chef if you serve that
bada bing bada boom. These insults, when properly targeted, make the audience feel comforted.
That was bad.
There are problems with this kitchen, and they are human problems. And the antidote is Gordon's insults.
Mate, you're not capable of running a fucking bath.
It's not a side effect, it's the motivating factor that pushes the healing into motion. As such, this show thrives on these problems. It seeks them out, feeds on them. The producers will jump through hoops just to uncover them because problems mean insults, and insults are the golden foundation.
Absolutely appalling.
That is gross. That was dreadful.
However, the show's own legacy has a habit of preceding itself, and restaurants throughout the years have become more aware of what they're in for. And in turn, producers and Gordon found themselves getting creative to try and outfox them. Knowing when he'll come, they could have started preparing special meals, scrubbing down the most obvious problem areas in the kitchen, and doing everything they can to avoid Gordon's insults.
Look at it, it's congealed.
It needs to be more cooked. What a joke.
In response, the show switched tactics. Gordon began arriving unannounced, catching people off guard, once again allowing himself to deliver his signature verbal beatdowns with unfiltered authenticity.
This area of Queens is called Flushing. Right now, I'd like to flush these right down the toilet.
But even then, once he sat down to order, everyone in the kitchen knew it was him. They'd go into overdrive, making sure his plates were flawless, thereby depriving us of some more potential insults.
It's way overcooked. This one looks like a dog's dinner.
No worries, Gordon thought to himself. I'll simply now implore a member of my team, equipped with a hidden camera, to go into the restaurant and order some food before my arrival, and then I can insult that footage in post.
How uninterested was that waiter He's like a zombie. Getting washing f***ing dishes.
In a spin-off of the show called Gordon Ramsay's 24 Hours to Hell and Back, basically the same show with a truncated timeline, the producers decided to level up their deception.
When people know I'm coming to town, they all turn on the Southern charm. So I'm going undercover.
Gordon started showing up in ridiculous disguises, complete with hammy accents, pretending to be an unassuming, plastic-looking member of the public.
Weird.
And this is fine.
Honestly, you guys should be ashamed.
In fact, this is great.
Grandma Jean, ready for lunch. Let's get the puck out of here.
But once staff catch onto this trick, there's nowhere else to go, right? Well, then came the pièce de résistance, the 3D chess checkmate of reality TV deception. In a later season, knowing that restaurants were already on the lookout for a plastic-looking Gordon Ramsay-shaped customer, the show planted a decoy. Some poor chump dressed up in a way to seem like he was Gordon Ramsay in costume. A costume so fake that it would draw attention to itself and away from the real Gordon because he was there, in the corner of the room, dressed as a fat cameraman, casually and quietly dishing out his classic insults.
Have you ever seen anything so ridiculous in all your life?
No one could have ever possibly suspected that this man,
It's soiled.
the man with the face nearly identical to that of Gordon Ramsay, was actually the Gordon Ramsay.
Captain Plastic.
And then comes the revelation.
Ladies and gentlemen!
The decoy stands up, delivers a near-perfect Gordon impression
That was one of the most underwhelming meals I've had in quite some time.
to a captivated room, pulls off his disguise. Imagine you didn't know anything about Gordon Ramsay.
This is your chance. This is your time now.
You didn't know anything about him being a chef, or his supposed ability to turn around nightmarish kitchens, or his little habit of trying to deceive staff by arriving in costume. You don't have the basics down, much less the meta-level awareness to comprehend what is happening. What sort of mind-bending bewilderment must you be drowning in as this scene unfolds before you? What might your reaction look like? Well, I'm guessing it would look like this.
Not who you thought, is it?
What do you think?
Yeah, disgusting.
So why does this scene irk me so much? Simply put, I don't believe him anymore. I don't believe the bread is as bad as he says. Frankly, I don't think he has an opinion on the bread. But when he is asked about it, politely, he must answer. And he must answer in a way that is coherent with his TV personality, and therefore he has to say,
Yeah, disgusting.
he feigns disgust for normal, just fine bread. The problem with the hotel must be in no insignificant way that the customers don't like the food, because Gordon is a chef and restaurateur. If the problem with the hotel isn't the food, then how can Gordon be reasonably expected to fix it? So there must be a problem with the food for the show to function. Gordon's first and strongest route to finding an issue will always be the food, because if you can easily identify a problem, then you can easily work towards its solution. The bread must be too doughy, because otherwise, Gordon may have to explore more complex ideas, like market interest or demand or economic factors or cost of staff or any number of factors that could be causing this business to fail. But no, the problem is with the bread. It's too doughy for f***'s sake. But throughout the years, as an audience, we've gone along with every insult, every jab, every little trick, because in some small part of our brains, we want this restaurant to succeed, and we believe that Gordon wants that too. However, there comes a point, perhaps due to oversaturation, or the show's failure to present real issues, or simply because the creators have become bored or lazy, when it starts to feel like he's inventing problems. And when that happens, as it does at this moment, the show shifts from a chaotic but justified insult fest with timely resolutions to one that is determined to find problems where none exist. And ultimately, the resolutions won't be in the interest of fixing the hotel's issues, but rather fixing the issues invented by Gordon.
You better get your fucking fat head outside your ass and start understanding what the f is going on here.
When that happens, and you become aware of it, what was once a cathartic viewing experience turns infuriating. Every little detail he criticized makes me, in turn, start criticizing him. I get trapped in this mental loop, watching and rewatching.
F***ing useless.
I can't believe I've not seen Sandy once through my whole meal. What sort of innkeeper ignores his guests and hides in the kitchen?
Well, he's the type of innkeeper who's also the head chef. He's not ignoring his guests or hiding in the kitchen, because that's where chefs are supposed to be. It's his job to be in there. And then the way he picks up this lettuce, in unhampered disgust, as if adding lettuce to a dish is some kind of crime, as if it's not the most commonplace garnish in the Western Hemisphere. To be clear, I'm not saying this hotel is without fault. Rather, its flaws aren't in the bread or the fact that the chef stays in the kitchen or the lettuce. Its problems, which I'm not qualified to identify, are more complex. And believe it or not, Gordon Ramsay, I'm interested in what they are and how you might go about fixing them.
The meat is stinky. Your professionalism by standing there giggling. This is fresh kale. Your kitchen is a war that hasn't been cleaned in months. Can you not smell?
Seen.